And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to Enlightened Health and Healing with myself and Dr. Christy, where we're bringing conversations about physical, mental, and emotional. I'm missing one: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health forward from our experiences and the dance that we're currently in and have been in the past to serve anyone moving forward who's in the mix of whatever you're currently in. Hi, Christy.
Good morning, Jen. How are you?
Fabulous. I am absolutely fabulous. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to dive right in because this is a big topic, I know, for our viewers and for us and keeping everything on track. But before I do, I first want to say hi, David. Thank you for joining us. We're very excited at this conversation as well. So thank you for that.
Thanks for joining.
Hi, Dorothy. Always good. All right, guys. So today's topic is a big one. It is, and I don't know about you, Christy, but I hear it often. Just how do I actually find friends? How do I actually find people who I connect with and I mesh well with? And I pulled up a few statistics, and anyone who's been watching my content certainly knows my take on loneliness and the impact of loneliness as it relates to mental and emotional health. And I'm going to get distracted for a minute because we're having some trouble with LinkedIn. So we are going to, I apologize for anybody watching. Well, we're just going to run with it. We can always share it again later. Okay, so guys, I was alarmed actually when I pulled up the most recent statistics. 3 of 5 Americans feel lonely. Current statistics. Now, anyone who has studied loneliness, anyone who has studied mental health knows that there's a direct correlation between feeling lonely in life and anxiety, depression, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-efficacy, and just overall stress, which we also know then compiles on top of the chemistry in our body, the things that we do, and it's the spiral effect. So I want to sit in that conversation for a minute, Christy, and anything to add so far to that, the initial loneliness piece.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when I hear that also is people frequently feel like, well, how could that many people be lonely when people are around all the time? And just because someone's not alone doesn't mean they can't feel lonely.
Yeah.
Very, very different. And I know I've personally felt lonely before, even being surrounded by people, because it's not the right group that you feel comfortable and truly connected with. And you may be going through things on your own that even if you are surrounded by people, if it's not the right situation or whatever's going on, you can still feel lonely amongst a bunch of people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I can tell you in my hardest hour of life, I had people all around me. I had customers, I had employees, I had everyone that I worked with, I had my family, and I felt completely alone in all of it.
Yeah.
And there's so many components to that because, and we'll come back to it, is you have to be willing to put yourself out there. To some extent, first you have to find the right people, which we'll come back to, but you have to be willing to trust those people and hold trust for other people, because otherwise you're going to be in that lonely state. Again, similar to where I was, and sounds like where you were as well in the past. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that's an important and good perspective, Christy, because we never know where someone's at, and they can look seemingly good. It comes back to the old phrase of you never know what someone else is going through.
100%.
Yeah.
We all wear masks, I think, every single day in different situations just to get through life sometimes. And unless you're really deeply connected with somebody, you don't really know what's under the surface.
Yeah. And removing the masks.
Yes.
Just remove them.
Yes.
Well, build a community that you can remove them.
Yes.
Then remove them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here today.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so let's just briefly touch on benefits. Benefits of having community. The very first thing that I look at when I look at my life is it normalizes life. It normalizes what we're going through. It normalizes relationships. It normalizes situations. It allows us to say, okay, it's not just me. Guys, for any of our viewers, Christy, you know this. I had it that talking about certain things was disrespectful. And I had it that just certain, yeah, nonetheless, in the last 9 years, since just shifting and building community and building people and being able to be in conversation with other people, it is honestly, I would have to say, mentally grown me up. You know, I think that we're taught, at least I was, that certain things you just don't talk about. You know, certain conversations you just don't have. You just keep those to yourself. And I think that, well, there's benefit to being mindful and respectful of other people, which is always number one for me. There's also the other side of being able to be in conversation without it all disrespecting other people and helping to normalize the things that you're going through in life. What do you think of all that? I'm still getting yelled at by LinkedIn. So if you want to comment on that as I try to fix this, that would be amazing.
Go for it. You try to figure that out. I just wrote that down because I 100% agree on that, where there's just things that we just don't talk about, being religion, politics, like certain like controversial or sometimes hard to discuss topics. I don't necessarily think that they should be off the table taboo. I think we just should learn how to have those conversations and how to engage respectfully and learn from the other person's perspective instead of just, oh, we just don't talk about that because you might offend somebody. It's about just being open and learning from other perspectives and really, like you said, taking off masks, putting yourself out there and just engaging and seeing what reception you get.
Yeah. It also is learning how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taught how to communicate.
No. And I think it's even worse now because of the
Yeah.
digital era. Like I brought this up to several other people before, that especially with cell phones and texting being a stronger way of communicating than actually having a conversation. Our kids growing up used to hear, or when we were growing up, we used to hear our parents have conversations in person or conversations on the phone. You could hear inflection, you could hear tone, you could hear the conversational communication take place. Whereas texting now, they don't hear any of that.
Yeah.
And I believe it's really taking, I think communication's even harder to teach now than it even was. And so I think it's even more important.
Yeah. Communication is definitely different. And I happen to think that that's going to keep evolving, because as we continue to get more technologically advanced, I think that, to your point, guiding and learning how to communicate in an era of not just in person, but through texting and email and other forms. I mean, it's going to continue to evolve either way. And it's going to be more important that all of us as parents, leaders, individuals in whole, bring back as many of these kind of conversations as possible, as many in person as possible, and allow our kids and our kids' kids to learn how to do that as well. And learn how to essentially, and I don't want to say this, but essentially stumble through their ways of learning, because that's really how you learn, right? Like, yes, you learn through observing and listening and hearing other people, but to me, you learn mostly just by doing it. It's that action piece, because until you actually engage in that conversation, you don't really know how you're going to converse.
True, definitely 100%. And I think from a parenting perspective, that's sometimes one of the hardest things to do. Is we can give all the information, we can set all the examples and provide all the instruction and to-dos, and then you just got to let go and say, okay, now fall and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And all we can do as parents is trust that whenever they fall, we're going to be there for them.
Of course.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So other benefits, of course, support systems. You have built-in support systems. I mean, guys, it's overall community-wise, it's better for mental, emotional health in all aspects of life. So making sure that we can spend the bulk. Anything else with benefits, Christy, before I just move right into the how-to and just general tips for our viewers on how to build that community for you?
Nope, I think you're good.
Okay. So when I think of, and you got anyone who's been watching this for a while is going to laugh when you hear this, because the very first thing that I think of is decision. It's deciding who you want to be first, because you need to know your values and your beliefs and who you are, so that you know, well, then second to that is deciding what kind of people you want in your sphere.
Mhm.
Thoughts on that one, Christy?
Oh, so many. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to decide what you don't want first.
Hmm.
I know in the past I've worn masks several times to fit into a situation to not create waves. And then I leave a situation and go, yeah, those aren't my people. And it's in the taking the time to reflect sometimes after the interaction where you go, okay, check, not something I'd want. And you fine tune the sphere of people that you do want to surround yourself with and keep refining who you are and who you want to be so that you can attract the right people.
Yeah, it's that experience piece.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think it's a dance. I think it's a dance. And we all know that we all work differently. So everyone picking apart like what works best for you guys, like for me, it's definitely that dance of picking out like what I like about situations, and oh, this makes me feel good, and oh, this makes me feel growing. This challenges me in a really good way, and it's picking out those pieces of, again, who we want to be as individuals to say what feels right. I know one of the things that I hear so often is, and I think I can only think to myself, but I know that there's a lot of viewers that have similar tendencies. Is I struggle with, and I'm going to use the word struggle. I struggle with drama. I struggle with judgment. I struggle with the cattiness that sometimes occurs in conversations. Because I have zero tolerance for it. I do, and that isn't always the norm. And often, at least, and I certainly hear this from a lot of people. Often, it acts as a point of connection of people. And I think that for me, as I worked and I continue to work to build my sphere, to be very candid, I keep my very inner circle really small, because I want to make sure that that inner small circle has the same values I do, that we're not collaborating over drama. We're not collaborating over judging other people. We're collaborating over life stuff, what we have going on, how we can grow, what we can do. And I think that that's an often stumbling block for people, because what I definitely have experienced, do it, stay in tune to, and know that a lot of people also experience as well, is that causes the instant, ooh, maybe I should just not say what I'm going to say because I'm going to get judged for it, because I know that this is the people who are around my sphere.
Yeah.
And that can, quite frankly, that can cause you to have more limits on building that community and finding those people you can really trust with the things you have in your thought, mind, and heart.
Yeah, absolutely. What you've really said there that just kind of hit me is not saying things for fear of being judged for it. And then in those interactions, you're not actually able to be your true authentic self because you're worried about how it's going to be received. And then you hold back and you say something different that may not actually be authentic to yourself. And it just creates more of what you don't want.
Right. Right. And it can be hard for people. I can tell you, for me, I'm a stand for, and Christy, you know this because you've known me longer than probably most people watching. I'm a stand for, if someone tries engaging in judging conversation, I end. I disconnect immediately. I have just, and that's where I come back to deciding who you want to be. And once you decide, like, okay, these are my values, these are my beliefs, this is what I'm not willing to stand for, then when you're meeting people, you can immediately just decide, yep, to your point, when you're out in public and you're networking, you can quickly know, yeah, this isn't the person for me. They don't meet those values of how I want to interact and how I want to converse with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much else on that one. I'm actually more curious if you have thoughts on how to find the right situations and the right opportunities to find those people.
Yeah. The first thing that I immediately come to and think about is look to what you love to do and then find them in those spaces. There's all kinds of different meetups and groups. And if you like hiking, see if there's hiking groups. If you like going to the gym, find people at the gym. If you enjoy networking and building professional development, go to different. I mean, that's how we met, was at a seminar for developing ourselves. And if you go to the places that you enjoy and that attract you, you may in those spaces meet other people like you, like-minded people.
Yeah.
There's also, and I know there's a couple apps on the market currently. I don't know enough about them to speak to them, but there's a couple apps on the market now that actually are friend apps, kind of like the dating app, but for friends, that actually help you find like-minded people.
Yeah, agreed. There's something I want to say. I don't know if it's nationwide or anything like that. But there's a group I want to say, at least in the Chicago area, that's like Advents and Adventures or something. I think it's like an opportunity for singles to meet for something along those lines. But I was like, first off, if I was single, I would totally do that because it sounds like a blast. And I believe that there are certain aspects of this group that just allows people to meet and connect over similar interests. Like I think they do like rock climbing and just like active fun things and things along those lines.
Yeah. And I would definitely vet out, if you're going to look at something like that, I would definitely vet out, is it going to be safe and is it what you're looking for?
Of course.
Just to make sure. The other things that I think about is, and again, it comes back to a comment I made earlier, is you have to be willing to put yourself out there. There's multiple groups on Facebook. Facebook has, from what I know, Facebook has groups on almost anything now that would be a point of interest. So that could be something to look at as well.
That's absolutely true. We do have a couple Facebook comments I want to say. One, well, Dorothy said, really, that is interesting. So I'm curious what part was interesting because I don't know what she was commenting to. Unless she was responding to my husband who said, always make sure you include a crazy person in your community because if you don't have a crazy one in your group, you're the crazy one. So I think he's trying to lighten the mood. And I think he actually does bring up a good point that crazy and fun is also just really important sometimes to let go and just enjoy.
Yeah, I think that comes back to what you're looking for and who you want to be.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
So
yeah, curious to know what Dorothy was, if she can give perspective.
Agreed. So hopefully she'll comment again.
Yeah.
Oh, the Friends app.
Oh, the friend app. Got it. Yeah, I think it's called like Bumble or something.
I hadn't heard of that either.
Yeah. Okay, what else? How else can you build community? I think that, and I wish that LinkedIn was currently connected, so we'll have to reshare this back out, but getting on platforms like LinkedIn and sharing, that's the other piece, sharing your voice, sharing who you are in the community to your comfort level so that you can actually draw in people who connect with you and then decipher if that's someone that you want to get more connected with.
Yeah. And I would say in your action piece of everything, it's sometimes taking the uncomfortable steps to engage a conversation that might be awkward at first to start the ball rolling in certain directions.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. And I think it's also being willing to, again, step away when things are just, it's honoring yourself.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Especially in the last year and a half of like everything that's been going on with COVID and everything. I really find that the statistics that you brought up currently, I have to hope and believe that that's maybe part of it because it's just been a bit more challenging in the recent years. I don't know. What's your thought on that? As far as like the current events, like maybe more people are feeling lonely as part of that, whether it's, lockdowns or other parts of the whole situation.
it has slightly increased, but one of the initiatives I had when I started my Happy Mail was all surrounded around loneliness. And it was even a problem then. And that was 2017-18 timeframe. So I would love to say that this is just par for the what's going on in the world, but unfortunately, people were already feeling that way. I mean, I'm a good example in how I was feeling prior to way before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I just wrote down is ask for help. If you don't know how to find your people, if you don't know how to get in tune to your groups, find someone that can help. Reach out to one of us. There are so many good influential voices now in the world between Facebook and LinkedIn, and there's so many helpful people community wise that it taps into that vulnerability piece of having to put yourself out there. But I can tell you that most people are not going to decline if you say, gosh, I need someone in my life. Can you help me find that person?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be saving, I think, in a lot of ways to find that person.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What else, Christy? What other tips do you have for our viewers?
I'm not sure if I'm going to say this name right. Junaid Ahmed said good morning as well. So thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
We already talked about deciding who you are, what you do and do not want, putting yourself out there, taking the steps. Not sure.
Work can be a good outlet
Mm-hmm.
to learn people, to get to know people, to understand who they are, and find people who are like-minded like you. I think that, and the thing that keeps rolling through me is be okay with your group being small. Be okay with building a couple really solid people to start at least, and just getting good at that. And I think that as I say that out loud, not making yourself wrong or bad for not having this hundreds of people that are in your circle or that are super close friends with you.
That I'm sure you know where my brain went with that. I can share this just publicly though. In my world, I mean, everyone handles challenges in life differently. And when I was growing up, I'd been bullied early on in life, and many people take that experience and close off and shut down and don't trust anyone. I almost took the opposite approach and widened my sphere so wide that it was like, well, at least I'll always have someone around me, even if it's not exactly what I want. And so in this conversation, I was the one who didn't necessarily know who I was or what I really wanted in a lot of ways. And to all the points that you're making, I think not making yourself wrong or bad for whatever you want and whoever is around, like what whether your circle is large or small or somewhere in between, if it's yours and you're comfortable with it and if it's fulfilling to you, that's okay.
Yeah.
And fine tuning what really feels right, because what felt right 20 years ago may not feel right anymore.
Yeah, agreed. The other thing you mentioned something in there, Christy, that just sparked. It's being yourself. If you're not familiar with her, I highly recommend Brene Brown and her books. Daring Greatly is probably one of my favorites, as is Dare to Lead, as is the 10 Gifts. The Gifts of Imperfection is also another good one. And all of her work speaks to the fact of authenticity and vulnerability and putting yourself in the ring and getting on the court, and however you choose to define it, of putting yourself out there, being yourself, and being okay if you being yourself means some people step away. Some people are not going to be our jam, and they're not going to be and vice versa. And being okay saying every person's not for us and I'm not for every person is I can tell you, for me, those words have been so empowering to just know not everyone's for me. Christy, you know this. even as I published my book, that continuous reminder that some people are going to hate my book, and some people are going to love my book. And I think that accounts for every area of life. But if we try fitting it, if we try being in a way that suits other people, we're always going to be dissatisfied. Whereas if we always are being to satisfy ourselves, we're always going to be happy. Well, we might get a certain way when people exit our world. But in the end, if we come back to at least I was being me, I would invite everybody to just sit in the acceptance and acknowledgement to say, yeah, at least I'm being me and I'm being real who I am.
Yeah, I couldn't said it more beautifully. And I've seen several memes and several quotes like that floating around Facebook and other social media outlets of just, that simple act of I want to say one of the quotes was being yourself. So don't be something else so that the wrong people will like you. Be yourself so the right people will love you, or something along those lines. I'm totally butchering the quote, but really being okay with that judgment, because we're all going to get judged, and we're all going to not have those right people find us and turn away, and we got to be okay with that.
Yeah, what I invite everyone is don't be that judge. So yeah, okay. Any other tips, suggestions, or otherwise for our viewers of how to get on that track to find your people?
We touched on this a little bit, and I really just want to add in one more time. The energy we put out is what we're going to keep drawing into ourselves and our sphere. And so it's in the logical piece of what we already said, deciding who you are, really fine tuning all those aspects, and then kind of just letting go and just being that and exuding that energy. And then it's like you act like an antenna, and somehow, oh, that was odd and kind of random, but yet it was divine intervention for that time and that opportunity.
I agree with that, as long as you're taking the action behind it.
Yes.
Because energy without action does nothing.
Agreed.
Action with the wrong energy does the wrong things.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. To add to that, I would also say there may be things about your energy that you want to work on first. There may be traumas or false beliefs or self-esteem things or whatever that you actually want to start dialing into so that you can get to the energy of who you want to draw in. Or finding those people. I also do believe, and I think you may have alluded to something similar earlier, is it does come in stages. As we grow, I can tell you through my growth journey, there's certainly the people in my life have evolved. And as we keep evolving, the people around us may evolve as well. There may be some people in our journey now that as we continue growing and evolving and developing and improving or whatever, that may not be in our life 5 years from now. It's not good or bad. It just, we grow and we change and we evolve. And I think keeping in mind that that's not a wrong or bad thing as well, that that's just part of human development is important too, while also accepting each other and each other's growth journeys.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Christy, any final words or thoughts before we wrap things up today?
Yeah, I have one more thought, and yes. I'm going to say it. I'm going to point the wrong way. This woman right here, I'm going to say a giant thank you to out here, because I met you at the exact right time to help support me and through my journey of everything that I'd been going through. 2020 was a very rough year for a lot of reasons, not just COVID, but for me personally, there were some things going on. And I don't know how and where it came to me a couple of days ago, but I just had a moment of true realization that if I hadn't met you when I did, 2020 would have broken me. And so I just want to say thanks for that.
I love you, girl. And you would have made it through anything.
I would have made it through, but not quite as gracefully.
I'm just going to receive. So thank you.
So, and I just want to say that right there is the power of finding the right people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And ditto.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Right back at you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Christy. All right. Final words. Guys, I say it every week. I'm going to keep saying it. If you're in that tough place, if you're struggling with loneliness or anxiety or depression or suicidal ideations, you are not alone. And that is a huge cause of why Christy and I are here every week. And even on the weeks that we're not here or on the days that we're not here, we're always available to you. So reach out to us. If you're in that place of that dance of not really sure if you want to keep going, reach out to the hotline and just know that there is so much help and support and people in the world that want to help you to the light and want to help you on the right track. So, and through everything, keep looking for that light in yourself. Keep looking for that kindness in you and the compliments of you, and start looking inside to give yourself that self-trust of what you have. So there's that. And final thought. So next week we're going to be adjusting time slightly. We'll be back next week Friday at 8 a.m. on Christy's 40th birthday. Yay! So we're going to be back at 8 a.m. next Friday, and the topic is going to be how and why advocating for yourself is so very important. And we're going to do that dance on Christy's 40th birthday. So there may be some surprises along the way.
Oh, I can't wait.
And we'll be together. So we'll be on one screen potentially.
That will be fun.
Yes.
Lastly, really quick, I want to give Dorothy a quick shout out because she commented and said that she would not have gotten through the year half sane if it weren't for us. So lots of love and hugs to Dorothy as well.
Yeah, we love you, Dorothy. All right, friends, thanks for joining us. Again, as always, Christy, always amazing. And we will see you next week.
That's good. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, guys.